The condition is really crazy condition.
I mean, that shouldn't give away the whole secret to professional windsurfing.
Maciek Rutkowski giving Antoine elbow a run for his body. Here we go. Woo! What a finish!
The guy is kind of talking bullshit.
The team's just got to work a little harder. Welcome to the Windsurfing Podcast, back again for episode 16. And this week, we have a bit of a collaboration with Surf Magazine Germany. And we're talking about a guy who started his career in '97. He talks about custom gear at that event. We then talk about the Formula events and how they were going down. And then when he set up his brand at age 32. We talk about how it was to set it up, having a really successful team, and then managing the success of that team was not easy. We talk about present day, we talk about lifestyle in Lake Garda and the amazing things about that famous lake. And we also talk about the future. Who is it? It is, of course, Andrea Cucchi.
Ciao Andrea, come stai?
Bene, Maciek. All good. How are you?
I'm good. As you see, I'm on this beautiful beach here, so I'm good, you know?
Yeah, lucky boy. That's right. So you're back from the IQ foil and the world's Formula foil.
Hey, it's me doing the interview.
Come on, I'm interested. I want feedback. Actually, I was there. I saw you racing. I didn't want to disturb you when you were there, so...
Yeah,
you're busy.
It was cold, you know.
I saw it. I felt it.
It was like I think we checked was like 5 degrees one morning, and we checked if it was the coldest place in northern hemisphere, and I think it was. We checked like the tip of Norway. It was warmer than the Swiss Alps. So
that's super plana. Yes. I was there the first time in '97 for the first PW, my first PW event.
You're already spoiling the podcast, man. We're gonna get there.
We're talking about your plan. I just told you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's start from the beginning then. Andrea Cucchi, you were born in Milan.
Exactly.
But you grew up in Malaysia, and I think you are the least Italian of all the Italians I know.
Yeah, I grew up in Malaysia for 7 years. When I was 5, I moved, when I was 8, I moved to Malaysia for 7 years. And I did the American English school over there because my father had a business. And so we stayed there till I was 15, and then we came back to Italy. I actually came back with my sister, my mom. My father kept going back and forth for the business. And then I was back to Italy, back to Milan for a couple of years, and then moved to Garda.
Yeah. How does that change like a kid? You know, Italy is such a strong culture, you know, it's so different than, going to an international school. I mean, with all the different...
Yeah, it's a big change. You know, we are used to Italy, to our culture, as you say. We are used to our own food. We are used to our own very cultural way of spending the day, let's say. So when you go outside, it's actually, you actually miss your own country. And you have sometimes a hard time to realize that actually the country the new one, is actually having very positive things. And the experience I had in Malaysia, I would never forget, because in the end, it gave me the chance to live out from my own country, see the different cultures, learn different languages. And actually, I was always missing Italy when I was in Malaysia. But when I came back, I actually realized that it was not that bad being in Malaysia. Climate was warm, you know, everything was a bit more served and easier, but yeah, that was a nice experience anyway.
Yeah, definitely not the same food though. You guys are very proud about your food.
Yes, we are, but it's okay. I mean, my parents have been always like traveling, so for me, I enjoy more the Italian food, I have to say, but it's not that I don't appreciate also the rest.
Yeah, I remember an instance when we were going and you were trying to kind of or not trying to convince you were doing some business talks with a certain sale designer, and that we're not going to mention the name, that and you cook him a minestrone, if I'm correct, an Italian soup. And
I don't think it was me cooking the minestrone.
It was
Maybe a carbonara, but the minestrone, I'm not sure.
No, it was a soup. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah?
Sure, but
Okay.
but he didn't. You didn't end up working together, so I'm not sure it was very good.
Oh, in that sense, yes. No, well, we you know, it's hard to put two brands together. So it's especially you need to be strong and established. And at that time, I believe that we were not established and strong enough to run two brands at the same time. And it was the same for the other side. You know, it's hard. You know, it's you have different ideas. You run the business in different ways, and it's hard. You know, you need to actually be a strong team and have more stuff also to run it, like we were dreaming to do in the end. But I think for both it was a good experience because it opened up our ideas and our visions to new things, and in the end we made it both experience. So I don't think
I'm not sure if we're talking about the same instance. You had a few different corporations, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You can ask me questions. I'm here.
Started windsurfing in Garda, no? Exactly where you live until this day.
Yes, I'm here on Garda, and it's where we're based with 0.7 at the moment, and this is where I live. And I like the place because it's windy every day. It's like a gym in the sense that you know that it's going to be windy from this time to this time, so you can actually train or actually test equipment knowing that you're going to get it done on the next day. So it's quite practical as a place. Of course, we don't have very different conditions like in many other places, but the frequency of wind is very good for training and testing.
Yeah. So you start windsurfing there, and when did you realize that, like, shit, I'm quite good, and maybe there is a path to, I don't know, to become professional, or at least to try to compete? And
well, let's say when I was coming here for the summer holidays, and I was coming here every weekend because I was still based in Milan. And when I was going out windsurfing, I realized that my speed was good, actually, you know. And I was young, I was 16, 17, and I realized that I was windsurfing with my German friends and out of the camping, and my speed was good. And there was a guy which was actually racing in the camping, and he was pushing me all the time. Come on, get a sail number, you know, come and do the 1 hour classic, which is a historical race that we have here on Garda that you also did this summer. And you did more than once, I think. Yeah, and so I took the sail number and I started racing, and that was thanks to the guys who were around me, you know, who were pushing me to try. And when I did it, of course, my result was not good, but I had fun, and because I enjoyed it, you know, then I tried to do the first time the Italian Championships for juniors. So I was 17, and it was fun because there were also a lot of young guys, you know, of my age windsurfing, and it was nice to meet people of my age having the same passion. So I really enjoyed the lifestyle and the community. And that year I finished the Italian Championship second, and I got some small sponsors from like shops and some sales, stuff like this. And that was just the beginning, but always here on Garda. In Malaysia, when I was living there, I had started windsurfing there actually, but the windy conditions were not that good the whole year round, and the sea was actually quite far from where we were living.
Yeah. Were you like always competitive? Because you're not. I mean, when I don't know. I think it's hard for me to say because I know you for a long time. But I think when people meet you, you're not exactly the competitive motherfucker that
No.
The only thing that he thinks of is how to win. You know, like many of the greatest champions of our sport are, you know.
No, for sure. No, that's exactly how it is. And for me, windsurfing was like, I love windsurfing. That's the thing, you know. And racing was more like it's a chance to actually do more windsurfing. So it was a way to live out of windsurfing. So having results brings you money, brings you sponsorships. So it was a way that I could actually live the lifestyle of windsurfing more without having to do something else, you know. So for me, I enjoy the competition, and I get competitive when I'm on the water, but for me, the main thing was like to actually have more time on the water, more time to windsurf. So that was the reason why I actually maybe started more the competition side of windsurfing. Was not so much for the eager of winning, you know. Then of course, if you win, you have more fun, you enjoy it, and you're satisfied. But I always also analyze why I was maybe winning some events, or why I was losing some events, you know, or why I did bad or why I did good, you know. And I was never like, if I was winning, it's like I am the best, you know. No, I won it because of these reasons. And if I went bad, it's like I lost or went bad because of these reasons, you know. So I was not like so thirsty for the win, but I was enjoying it.
Yeah. So in '97, as you mentioned, you do your first PWA.
Yes.
And what kind of tour or what kind of atmosphere did you find there?
Well, it was my first event, and I had a wild card thanks to Anders Bringveld, because the weekend before he was here on Lake Garda doing one local event with the whole RD team. There was Robbie Seeger, I think there was also Roberto Riteo, and we sailed this local race, and I was going fast, and then Anders was like, "Come on, you know, you have to come to the PWA next week to Sivaplana. It's a lake, it's like your home spot, you know, you can do good. I will push to get you inside with the wild card because you deserve it." So, you know, I drove to the first event, Sivaplana, and I felt skinny and small compared to all the big PWA guys. And it was a nice experience because there were like, I mean, you can't be friends with everybody on a tour, but straight away I had like lots of friends from between the competitors, and it was a very nice experience. I mean, I was dreaming of this, you know, when I was smaller, to see all these big guys, big pros and stuff like this. I was asking autographs, and suddenly you're there with them competing. For sure, my level was not that big, but you know, it was a very nice experience. The only thing is that on the first start, the official race, I actually had an over early. So, you know, when we did the first start, the race was canceled because the wind dropped, but I had it over early and I was disqualified. And when I went back to the beach, I saw Anders, you know, I was so shy to go next to him or close to him because I didn't know how to tell him that I was over early after he pushed for me to be in the event. You know? That was pretty bad. But then we had like a fun race. That was the only race we had. They put like $1,000 for the top 10 guys. Each top 10 was going to get $1,000. And I finished 10th. Bjorn was 11th. And I remember that I turned around, he was behind me and I couldn't believe it, you know, but that was like a fun race, you know, no win. So nothing to be proud of, but still, you know, it was kind of a nice feeling. And I remember that he blinked at me, you know, like, you know, good. And it made me very happy. And I got the $1,000 and I called home and I said, "Hey, you know what? I got the $1,000, you know, to my family. Can I go to Paros next week to the next PW event?" And my parents, you know, they're like, "Yeah, sure, you know, try, go." And then I went to Paros and that was the start.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you're there and it's kind of a gear war, all the custom boards, custom sails, guys developing so much from event to event, or have boards for different events, for different conditions, you know, arriving with a container of gear, etc., was right in the kind of end of that era. Did you have like any chance, maybe except for a fun race, was there any chance to actually perform against these guys?
You can always, you know, give the fault to the gear. We were with production gear, you know, and the other guys were with custom gears. You know, I was showing up with 2-3 boards. The other guys were maybe with containers of boards, you know. So there was a difference in gear. And on my second event, which was Paros, as I was saying, you know, one evening Finian was like, "Hey, you come out partying with us tonight?" And I was like, "No, I need to compete tomorrow, you know. I don't go out partying, sorry." And he's like, "But aren't you the guy with the production boards?" And I said, "Yes." "Yeah, then don't waste your time, you know. Go out party, at least you have fun." So at that point I was like, "Oh, you know, is it that really bad to have production boards compared to custom boards?" And actually the days after I was caddying for Finian, you know, and I was out with my own gear. I was like on a 6.0 and like a small board. And Finian's like, "Hey, since you're out of the qualifications, why don't you help me caddying, you know?" So I took his 7 meter and his like bigger board, something that I could actually not even think to manage in that wind. And I was actually more comfortable than having my own gear, and then I realized that the gear was extremely important. The only thing was that, that was like 97, 98. The only thing was that anyway, to get custom boards, it's not that you just go to a shaper and you got your custom board, which is going good, and then it was only up to you to get your skills to actually get a result. The problem was that, a shaper would really actually want to make a custom product on your style, which meant that you had to actually maybe pay a budget of 50,000 euros to actually get your own custom boards, like they would actually fit your style, which meant that for somebody who's just beginning the PWA, or between the cost of training, the cost of traveling and all this, having an extra budget of 50,000 euros was not easy. $50,000, sorry. There were no euros at that time. Yeah, Deutsche Marks. Yeah, so, it was very frustrating on one side because you could actually feel the difference in the gear. And without having good gear, in the end, when you were going on the water, you already were like not having an advantage. So it was also very hard to improve the skills, not having the gear at the same level. And that was till till 99. Yeah, getting confused with the dates. Yeah, till 99, that was more or less the situation. Till then, Formula came.
Yeah, but we're gonna jump to Formula soon. But I also heard the story that you bought an old custom of Phil McGain, and it wasn't really what it was supposed to be.
Well, there are two ways of looking at it. On one side, I don't know, but when I got the boards, I could feel they were kind of special, but on the other hand, they were already out of date, because, every year the boards were getting bigger also at those times. And I was actually stuck with a smaller board, and then, you're getting a whiteboard, because it's not that they give you directly the board from what they're using, just say, take this that I just used it. You're getting a board maybe sometime after or at one point, and you never know whether you got like the best board or just one board that they were testing for trying, But when I got it, for sure, I didn't feel like I had a winning board, and then I realized that, it was not just a matter of getting a custom board, from a pro rider, which you never knew. It's like, Maciek, did you ever sell your best fin?
No.
Exactly.
Antoine never even sells one mast, so. Yeah. So then that era, I think it kind of shrinks because nobody is able to compete. Then also I think the cigarettes and the alcohol gets banned from sponsorship. The money gets smaller, and
Yeah, I think when I started competing, those sponsors were already out. They were not there already, because I started in 97. I think that was just already before I started. But anyway, you have to think that, to be a national champion, you can do it with production equipment, with local sponsors. But when you go to when you were going to that game in PWA, you needed a bigger budget. You had to invest your own money to actually be in the top. And it was not easy at all, And therefore, I was getting to a point in 99 where I said, okay, for me in Italy, I'm getting my own budgets and my sponsorships, I can live with this, but it's kind of getting, let's say, less motivating, because you want to go to the next step.
Yeah.
But you also know that it's an impossible step, because you need to invest so much money that at one point you say, okay, how much money do I need to invest? What am I going to get back? As you say, they're not these big sponsors anymore. They were not these big sponsors anymore. So at one point you're like feeling frustrated, you feel uncertain of your future. But then at that time, and actually one of the last events in those years was Brazil, and Brazil, there were actually 20 people going, because in the end, a lot of younger guys were realizing that it was getting too difficult and too expensive to be able to be at the top. So there were less people going to those events, to that PWA custom events. And at that time, then Formula came.
So then Formula windsurfing comes in.
Yeah, Formula came at the right time, because when we were getting like frustrated about this and seeing no chance, Formula came in, and it was just one board, 3 sails, and everything was production. And that's why at the first World Championships, which actually Formula was just starting, already the first World Championship, there were 120 people racing, and it was not in Europe where you would expect a lot of people, but it was actually in Thailand in the winter, and there were a lot of riders, and it was a big event. And from there, Formula started, and it was a great event because it proved that with the same gear, more guys had a chance to be at the top. And from there, the Euro Cup started, and that's when I met you. And and that was the beginning of Formula. So a lot of young guys actually jumped to Formula, and PWA kind of disappeared in the racing scene. They were pushing more than the freestyle, more the supercross at those times, and and the Formula Windsurfing Tour became quite big.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like what's happening. I don't know, but I feel like it's kind of happening a little bit now with the IQ class and the Formula Foil at the moment.
Yeah. So it did kind of come and salvage you, because from my perspective, I was talking to Arnon about it, and your generation kind of got shafted a little bit because you didn't get to come into that PWA because it just shut down and it was too expensive and whatever, and then you jumped to that Formula. By the time you started getting podiums and winning and whatever, it kind of jumped back to PWA slalom, so do you feel like, I don't know, your generation, like you are known, I don't know, Gonzalo, Benny, these guys, you were kind of unlucky with the timing of?
Well, let's say that the only unlucky part was maybe the money we were making, because in the end, Formula, even if it was big, it was still not really reflecting the windsurfing of everyday recreational sailor, in the sense that to go Formula windsurfing meant using 10-meter sails up to 12.5, and it's not something that everybody enjoys doing, So the tour was strong, the events were great, were amazing, and some prize money was there too. We were traveling only with one board and 3 sails, and it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun, and if we have to look at it, at the events, the fun we had, the competitions we had, and the guys I was with, it was very nice. It was one of the best time of my life for racing, for sure. And the unfortunate part was, as I was saying, because the gear was not actually going to the final recreational sailor as slalom did. The budgets we were getting as pro riders was not as big as the slalom sailors at the moment. So let's say that if you were top 5, you would probably get the same value in Formula. Top 5 Formula was getting maybe the same value as a top 20 now in slalom. That was the difference, That was the only thing that we missed. But on the other side, we had a lot of fun, and it was great racing. And so we managed to leave that era as well. And then we went to the slalom, and it was tough because we had to change completely the way we were sailing, but that was good anyway.
You were trying to, I think, consciously or not, you were trying to make that also the outside sponsors and whatever. I remember you with blue hair and a website, bluecookie.com, and some fashion magazines and whatever, things like that. So you were living it up.
It's I was, well, we have a great example next to me here. You have dreadlocks. I met you were curly hair, now you have dreadlocks, So yes, I think, having a result is great, because that brings you sponsorship. But on the other hand, you have to be active with media. You have to be active in now social media, of course. So, yes, you can be interesting for a brand, for a windsurfing brand, because of your results. But on the other hand, if you want to have some external sponsor, out of industry sponsors, you have to do a little bit more. And it's not easy because, as you know, we have to do everything ourselves as providers. You have to take care of your travels, you have to take care of your sponsors, your image, you have to take care of your gear. I mean, you're like a small company in the end, run by yourself. So every detail is very important to stand out. And So yeah, that was my blue hair and trying to be different.
Yeah. So then you come back, PWA comes back with the slalom and whatever, and you're on like, okay, let's read this. 14 times Italian champion, multiple Euro Cup podiums, PWA final win, PWA podium, DEFI win champion. And at 32, which is basically like the golden age for a professional windsurfer, you quit. I mean, you don't quit, but you decide like, okay, even though you have pretty much the perfect size, you're like tall,
Yeah.
moto, like 193, 194, what are you, 95 kilo, you have the speed, like scary. It's like, yeah, in Garda, I don't like to line up with you even now. And like you have everything to try to just put together a run for a world title, a podium, whatever, Didn't that tempt you? Didn't you think like...
Well, at those times, we didn't have the Antoine Albo being 47 and still winning. So we didn't have an example that you could actually windsurf till you were 47 and being still the champion. So, I was at 32 thinking I was already old as an athlete, and on the other hand, when I was younger, I was always seeing like, people building up their careers and stuff, and I was thinking, my God, I'm still windsurfing, I'm only windsurfing. You hear people saying, oh, how's your holiday going? You're actually working your ass out, I would say, and people think you're on holiday, and all this from behind, somehow you see other people, starting their own business and stuff like this. You start feeling old on one side, not old physically, or just because you think, my God, I'm 32 already, what am I going to do in the future? And on one side I said, okay, I did till now a lot of racing. I visited a lot of places, more or less it's the same soup. Yeah. So, and I thought, why not do something more, add something to my life and invest in the future. So I thought, I either open a windsurfing center in my Garda, or, at that time I thought, I knew that Peter Muslinger was free, he was making his own Yes Sales brand, and then he stopped, he was free. So I thought maybe, with Peter doing also a sales brand with him could be cool, instead of promoting my own sponsors, promoting my own brand. I thought, okay, I'm still kind of young to do this, so maybe if I make my own brand, promote my own brand by racing, that could be something like a new adventure, something more interesting than what I've done till now. But of course, I did not realize the amount of work that it was going to be. If I was complaining about working for racing, yes, competing, I didn't realize how hard it was actually to have your own business like this, and all I thought was easy was actually very complicated. Every day you have new challenges, you have a lot of things to work on, and it was not as easy as I thought. But yeah, now here we are.
Yeah. So describe the process of starting the brand, because you said like, my friend Peter Munsinger, Yes Sales designer, he's free. I can do the selling and the marketing, but it's not that simple, isn't it? How was the checklist, and how did the checklist?
Well, the checklist is, first of all, that you lose a lot of friends, and at one point, you're trying, friends want to help you, but at the same time, it's like, let's say, it's hard to be. I mean, for friends who work for free, also, some friends want to help you. They think it's cool, then they realize it's actually a business. It's not just fun, A lot of people think that the windsurfing business is fun, like windsurfing, but it's actually business like any other business, So at one point you have to try to divide friendship to business, and that is kind of hard in our world, And this is a lesson that first thing I had to learn. Then you need to find the team. The team means not only the people you work with in the office and in the team as, like racing team. It means also the people who are actually supplying your equipment, the people who are actually manufacturing your equipment. You need people who you can trust, people who are, doing what you're asking, and so creating the whole structure, of people around you, which can give you the support you need to establish a brand. That's one of the most difficult things, So having the right suppliers, the right people you work with, and finding these people, in this world, it's easy on one side, because there are a lot of people who like to be part of the world. But on the other side, you need also people who actually take it as a real business and not just because it's windsurfing, it's fun, I want to do it. Sometimes maybe you get emails of people say, oh, Andrea, I would really like to come and work for a company because then I can go windsurfing. It's not really like this, You come working because you need to work, not because you go windsurfing, I let my people windsurf every day, I mean, everybody has to do their own work. If they do their work, they're free to windsurf, and we give a lot of freedom in 0.7 for this. But still, it's a business, and people need to work as it has to be.
How shocking was it when you started? Like, okay, you need the suppliers, yeah. So must suppliers. There's probably three suppliers in Italy, 3 factories in Italy. So that should be quite covered from your side, and you knew also some of the guys from the past. But then sail factories, you have like 3 or 4 in China, and then 2 of them in Sri Lanka. And what is that process like to choose your supplier, and how shocked are you when you go there and you see that it's actually nothing to do with windsurfing? It's just like a sewing factory.
Yeah, it is exactly like this, and the thing is that for example, we started from China, and then we moved to Sri Lanka, and the reason behind it, and the reasons are often, how good the communication is with the factory, how efficient is the factory in solving problems if there are problems, So, but when you go there and you see the factories, also to all our clients, sometimes, you unroll a sail, you see a small wrinkle on the sail, and clients are like, oh my God, this sail, I don't want it, it has a small wrinkle. But when you would go there and see how actually the factory is, I think a sail goes through maybe 400 hands before it's finished, It starts from the cutting, it goes to the printing department, it goes to the assembly department. So there are a lot of departments. It's being moved from one department to the other. Different hands, it's being rolled and unrolled so many times, and if you take a piece of monofilm in your hands and you just move it, it gets wrinkles straight away. And if you think that this sail is actually going through so many hours of work, handwork before it's finished, it's crazy that it's actually becoming so clean and nice at the end. And so it's that's for the sails. And for the mast too, you have to think that mast is chemistry, is materials, is resins, is glass, is carbon. And according to how hot the day is, how humid the day is, the way the mast is being constructed, how many times the carbon has been taken out from the freezer, for example, everything, the material can change. So you need really good engineers who know each day how to reproduce the mast, with those characteristics, which are different. I mean, the day is completely different to the day they had maybe before, So you really need to, you really realize how hard it is to produce this equipment, and how much work there is behind. So this is why it's very important to select these let's say partners in business, which are our suppliers. And I think for a client, it's very difficult to see how much work there is behind a product just in production, without talking about the development that you guys as providers do behind it as well.
Yeah. And how important is it because you hear these kind of stories all the time that, that within these factories, the flow of information is quite liberal, let's say, that, if you're a big player at the factory, and you ask, hey, so what are these little 0.7 guys doing? The factory kind of has this commitment to the big player to tell them, and how worried, or how, let's say, how did you learn to play that game?
Well, let's say that that could maybe be more for the boards, I believe, because it's like less factories. But for the sales, I'm not so much into those things, you know. I focus more on my brand, you know, and you know, in the end, you know, it's easy to copy. You can just go to a shop, you can buy a sail, you can buy a board, you know, to copy it. That's so long, you know. So what's happening in the factory, you know, if some big players want to look at other players, you know, and the smaller players, what they're doing or what they're, you know, I never had that kind of problems, let's say, or that I never went through that kind of discussions with my suppliers, you know. I trust them, and sometimes I see some products which are looking similar to ours in some things, you know, that maybe, but you know, that's how the world is in any business, you know. You cannot change it really, and you just have to focus on your brand and try to be always focusing on your product and trying to bring the latest development to it.
Okay. So sail designers, you start with Peter Munzlinger, and
Yes.
then if I'm not mistaken, Dan Kassler leaves Gastra. Gastra needs a sail designer. They contact Peter. Obviously, you cannot really at that time compete for his services with a player like Gastra.
No, sure not.
And then, but blessing in disguise happens that you kind of forge this little alliance with Challenger and with Claudio Badiali, and describe how this came about, because I think you were quite, you described one time to me that you were quite surprised that how good the products were, and like how, yeah, you just were surprised because they were right there, you know, at your doors, pretty much like, you know, 5-6 hours drive, and you had no idea that that it was there, you know.
Yeah, you know, when Peter stopped, you know, we were kind of panic, let's say, because it's okay, our sales designer stopped, you know. Actually, for us, it was more like a hard feeling because we started the thing together, and to see him leave, you know, to Gastra, I was like, kind of like, my God, you know, why is this happening? But of course, you know, Peter never had the chance to work for a big brand, you know, and I guess this was like kind of a chance of his life, you know. So I understood his motivation, and I was fine with it. But we had to look for a solution for ourselves, you know. So I was talking to Dan Kessler as he was without, let's say, a brand for windsurfing, you know. He's a sales designer for other things as well. And Dan was like kind of not sure whether to come working with us or to actually do his own brand. So he was like in between the things, and then I had Claudio Badiali calling me, and he said, Andrea, why do you need to go and look for some other sail designer abroad, you know, when I'm here in Italy and I can do the designing for you, you can do the testing of the sails, you know, and that would make things easy. We can share the cost of stuff. And I thought it was actually a really good idea. So I actually drove to Claudio with to talk to him to find a collaboration, to work together, to find a deal. And we agreed on a deal, you know. The thing is that, and I was actually, as you say, I was surprised because he's a really good sail designer. But as you know, you also need good riders to make a good product, because a sail designer, you know, he can have he can be good in designing the sail, you know, but then he needs the feedback from the rider, from a pro rider who can push the gear to the top level. So the combination of a good rider with a good sail designer, you know, makes a perfect product. And so, you know, we worked together for, I think, 3 years, and it was working good. But on the other hand, you know, when you have two brands and you're trying to push both the brands, you know, there's always one brand which could suffer more or be hidden by the other. And to be strong with both brands would need also a bigger team, more people, very different ideas to push the brands in different ways, you know. And somehow it was kind of difficult to divide the brands, to be one going to one direction and one going to the other direction. And we tried, and at the end, you know, it was kind of most stress for both, I think, you know. And in the end, it didn't work out. It worked out for 3 years, but then things were getting like very complicated, and we decided to both stop, you know, the collaboration. Yeah. I think, you know, you would have to, you would have, I think the solution would have been at one point, just make one brand, you know, just focus all the energies on one brand, either it was that or the other. But, you know, that could have made the team stronger and more like feeling like But when you have two things like this and they're not really well, joined, then it's kind of some jealousy can come up, and stuff like that. At one point, we took the decision to go our way.
Yeah, but obviously the designs that you worked on together stayed with 0.7, right? And from there, it had to play a part also that you felt like, okay, we have the base, now the products are good, and to modify products that are already existing is completely different than designing something from zero, right? So
let's say that there's nothing designed from zero at the moment on the market. In the end, all we see on the market is coming from years and years of experience, and it's not that someone wakes up in the morning and just makes something completely different, In the end, we still have sales in our line, which are an evolution of what we did with Peter Muslinger in 2008 and 9. There has been a big evolution of the product, but the base was that, and even by the bigger players, if they know that there's a better sale than what they're producing, on the market, they're the first ones to buy it, test it against, see what's actually good on that sale, and take the ideas and actually develop it their own way, but there's always a base where you're starting from, and so for sure, when you have a good product, to evolve it, it's easier. It can also be difficult because if it's already at its max, to go further, sometimes it's even difficult if you really have to go into the small details. But those small details are what is making the changes in the end.
I guess what I wanted to ask you here is like, right now you have no sale designer. Are you scared that at some point you're gonna hit a wall with, as you say, like you max out a certain product and you need to start with something new, or a new discipline comes or a new concept comes and it takes you, like with the foil sales, for example, now you need to probably work triple than if you had a talented sale designer that would just design you the sale and you could start from that base, right? So how is it running a sale brand without a sale designer? Maybe this is what I want to ask.
Well, we have a sale designer. That's what people don't know. And, this was always like a kind of thing that people, competitors say because they just try to push us down. You don't have a sale designer, But nowadays with the programs that are existing, and making a sale is not that difficult, and making a foil sale, we were not making foil sales till now just because we were not sure which direction foiling was going to be, was going to go. We didn't want to be the first ones on the market with the foil sale, we wanted to wait and see what the foil was going to bring, and then do an evolution on a more finished product in the sense that, is foiling going to be that foil, or is going to be a completely different foil that needs completely different sales, So if you want to be the first one, you have to invest a lot of money in development, just trying to understand which way the discipline is going, and in the end, you're just developing, but not selling, because there's no actual, let's say, target at that point. But now it's more clear, and we actually made three foil lines, and we have like a new, we call them now, the foil line is called the F1. And we made 3 lines, and we did our first prototypes this year. And we are coming out now in October with a recreational sale. And we're going to have only 2 sizes. One is a 5.4, which is like a wave sail with a camber, which is like a bump and jump sail that you actually can go foiling in very light wind. It has a camber below the boom, like a wider pocket behind below the boom. And then when the wind increases, if you look at it, a lot of free riders, a lot of bump and jumpers, they're actually just cruising around on a wave sail, but not actually doing freestyle or wave sailing, And this sail with the extra camber can actually be used also with fin, not only with the foil, and you can actually bump and jump. So you'll be a little bit faster, you have a little bit more drive, you can jump higher, you have more control. The wind range is bigger because it feels like it's 5.4, but it feels like a 6 meter in power, but you can hold it as long as a 5.4. So that's a sail we have created. It's a hybrid sail. And we did the same thing with the 7.6 size, which is more like a slalom version of it's like a hybrid sail for foiling and for slalom. Then we developed like the 6777 and the 90 for foil slalom, you know, and that was a kind of difficult sail for us to do, but not because we don't have a sail designer, because just that everything kept changing. First, we had to make a foil sail for slalom. Then the feedback of the riders like, no, we want to have a sail which is good for foiling and for slalom at the same time. So we developed a sail which could do both, but in the end it's a compromise, and we didn't really like to have a compromise for our slalom or a compromise for our foil. So now for 2021, we are going back to a full foil slalom sail, which will be used only for foiling. And then for foil formula, you know, we try to develop a sail which would not need a 550 mast, like a 10-0, because we didn't want to put back in our store the 550 mast, which was kind of hard to get rid of after formula died, and now it's coming back, you know. So we tried really working on something that would be also commercially more easy to sell for the clients or to buy, I say, because, you know, 520 mast is really a long mast, going 550 is even like more difficult for the market to accept. But in the end, you know, we have to give up. We have to go on a 550 mast for the formula foil sails. So we will have a 80, 90, and 10. So we're actually designing 3 different sail lines. And, you know, sail designer or not, you know, some people can say what they like, but we are designing our own sails, and you will see them very soon on the market.
Yeah. So shifting gears from that, what do you think sells a windsurfing sail in 2020?
2020, we have to think that clients look at their sails, meaning that, you know, it's, I mean, you have to spend your own salary on a sail, which is not a cheap object. So what is that sail going to give you? You know, what the sail gives you is not only how the sail is going to work, but it's also how long is it going to last? How, if I have a problem, is the service going to be there? You know, more or less all the products on the market can be good at the moment, but, you know, it's more the feeling you're giving with the product. It's more the service you're giving with the product, you know, the lifestyle you're selling with the product. And that's what's also selling a lot, the product, you know. And of course, you know, then if you have riders which are winning with the product, you know, it's actually like putting a stamp that your product is working. And but what is more important now for the public, I think, is what you're giving them as a brand. That's what's selling the sail or windsurfing product. So it's very important, you know, that the quality is good, that the performance is good, that if there's a problem, you're standing behind the client, that if he doesn't know how to trim the sail, he can contact you and you can tell him how to trim it. You know, he needs to feel that there's someone behind it.
Yeah. So you feel like the fact that you're personally there, you're personally on the beach, you're, you know, you're the boss of a windsurfing brand, but you're actually approachable. You're an ex-competitor, but maybe you're more famous now than than when you were competing. All these things, they really help the personal relationship with the client really helps. Yeah.
Yes, it helps a lot. Of course, you know, I cannot be myself everywhere in the world, you know, trimming sails for the clients. We try to have people who work with us to be around and helping the clients if they need some help in trimming the gear or if they have questions. But, you know, I get a lot of emails I think maybe 40% of my day is answering emails to clients who are asking for advices and things like this, you know, and it's a very technical sport. It's a very difficult sport, you know. A lot of people maybe windsurf 2 weeks a year. So it's hard to know all about the sport. It's hard to know how to put the gear together, you know. And if you know that a brand can actually give you the support as well, not just, you know, being interested in selling you the sail, but also interested to make you have more fun and making sure that you're buying the right gear that you need, you know, this actually helps a lot. And as you say, you know, I go to the beach, you know, I have a lot of people coming to me asking questions and stuff like this, and this is helping as well. Yeah.
How much good riders impacts selling?
I'd say that
And do you feel like you were unprepared to sell when you had already great riders? Let's say.
Yeah, sometimes, this is the thing, is that, the riders are like, it's like, I mean, it's not that you take the best rider, and suddenly you're selling sales. I mean, the best rider has a cost, so it's easy to get the rider by just paying the rider. Of course, the rider is not going to jump on a sale which doesn't work, because otherwise you cannot obtain the results, But let's say if you just have a good rider, it's not that you're going to sell the equipment. You need the whole structure. So you need from the service, from the distribution, from the let's say from the product being good, and when you have all this, then the rider is also important, But it's like, if one of these pieces is missing in the company, you cannot expect the rider to be selling your products if you're not giving the service. You cannot expect the rider to be helping you selling the products if you don't have the product, So you need to have everything, before you can having a rider, let's say. I mean, the whole package needs to be complete in the end. So we had, when we started in 2008, 7, with the first slalom sale, we had Jose Bahadur from Guadeloupe, who went to a speed event, and he was actually winning with our racing sale, the speed event, and it was I remember there was Finian. I'm not sure if it was Antoine or Bjorn who was second, but he was first, unknown guy with an unknown sale, but the product was not ready to be as good as the others on the market, So we had requests of the product, but then the expectation was higher than what the product was, and this is also not good. So you need to be able to, if you want to enter the market, you need to be sure that your product, your service, your distribution is good, because then when people start buying it, you need to be ready to give the service they expect. So a good rider will guarantee a good result, but then you need to be ready yourself with your company to support what he's going to bring.
Yeah. So once you had that, kind of good product, you signed Josh Angulo, and it was like a big kind of thing, I think, like for this legend to legend, and he was doing great in slalom, to sign with with a kind of a small brand, let's say small Italian brand, and I think it really put you on the map. And then Alberto comes, that he wasn't maybe in such high demand, so you managed to get him, not cheap, but you know what I mean. It wasn't the Alberto of later.
But he was 15th and not first, let's say.
Yeah, exactly. I think he was 12 when
Okay.
he signed him.
Yeah.
And he wins the vice world title. Then Matteo signs a huge deal with Starboard, and he needs sales, and he ends up with you, and he wins the world title. Looking back at all these things, do you think you were lucky with these riders? And we have to say that your slalom sale is your best seller, or at least it was for quite a while. So yeah, how do you look back at all these events?
Well, let's say that there was a project. The project was to create the Black Team. The Black Team was a project where we would actually start organizing riders to work together to achieve results, And as a competitor, I never won the PWA in my life, So I said, okay, I didn't do it with myself, Let's try to put a team together and let's go and win this title, So Josh was the first big name, as you said, who came on the team, and he had, I think, his best slalom result with us. He finished 5th that year, I think, and he won for 0.7 the first final, and it was very emotional for us.
After flying back to Boston to get his fins.
Yes, exactly. That was a nice story too. But I was, his motivation was that high that he actually flew back home to Boston from Turkey to get the fins. So, that made us feel like, there was a team, there was a motivation to try to go get a good result. And that was what we wanted in 0.7. And so, myself coming from the racing scene, to be able to have a racing team and going to competition and trying to win that title, was like a very nice and very nice project. And so yes, Josh came in And we had 1 year with him where we had like that 5th result, which was the beginning. Then Josh, was pushing to have more, but we could not afford to give more because we were not as big, as you know. So we could not afford to keep Josh in the team for that kind of money. And we decided to go for Alberto, who was young. And, those times, there was still not one young guy. I mean, if you looked at the results of that year, it was always either Antoine or Bjorn winning the PWA.
Micah.
And Micah also. Yeah, so there were like 2, 3, 4 maybe guys, who were always there at the top. But there was no young guy coming up from the back, who could actually break this thing. And Alberto, he's from here, from Garda. So, I knew him from when he was a small kid and everything, and I knew his potential was good. I knew what he could have needed to become better. And so I tried to set him up with a training camp that we did in Tenerife. And so we tried to get more guys together from the team to come to Tenerife all together, try to have a trainer on the water with the marks, and try to get everybody to improve. The target, of course, was that like in every team, you have the best guy, which was in that case Alberto. And our aim was to make him go from 12 to top 5. And to have all the rest of the team to take advantage of his level to actually improve from maybe the 30th place to top 15. That was our game. I always remembered, when I was training in Sardinia at my time of Formula, I was going to Sardinia because we had like marks every day on the water. We had a guy, a pensionate, which was there with the flag giving us the start. And he was always saying, Andrea, training without marks is like trying to teach mathematics without a blackboard. It's impossible, So if you want your team, if you want guys to improve, you have to have marks on the water. So that was what we did that winter in Tenerife when Alberto came on the team. And so we went all down there to Tenerife. And you were there as well. Jordi was there as well already, I think. Pascal. So it was actually a nice time. We made also nice videos of that time. And trained together, First event was Korea, I remember. And there it went, First event, all the guys coming from Tenerife who had trained together, this group of 5 people, first event. Alberto came second in the event. He won the event. I think he won Korea. He won Korea. Yeah, he won Korea. He won Korea, and all the good guys, I remember it was Ben Prophet, commentating, and he was saying, this training of Tenerife was incredible, look at all these guys, they're hammering the starts and all this, So that was the right thing to do, and it worked, And thanks to Alberto, we actually went from 8 distributors worldwide to 40 distributors worldwide, So that was what had made the brand big. And at that point, the sales were also ready. They were working, everything was fine. So the products which were given to the clients, were making the clients happy. And this was when the company went to the next step, But that was also a reason because it was the first time that a young guy like Alberto was actually able to beat the legends, So that made a big story because it was like the first time that the legends got beaten by a young one. So, and after that, more guys came up and did the same, but that was the first time, and that was what made the thing very strong.
Yeah. So then I need to ask you this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Pascal, Josh, Alberto, Matteo, Ricardo, maybe from the less successful a little bit, myself, Jordi, Adam Lewis. All these breakups, let's say, they were not that peaceful. They were not that...
Well, it's how it is. If you look in 2014, 15, we had actually a big team, a huge team. And the problem was that all these guys, were like maybe behind in the ranking, and thanks to all the training and because they worked together and because they grew up, they made experience, they were working hard. We didn't choose people who had no talent or people who were lazy. We chose the right people. At one point, they were all going really well, really good, and slalom was getting bigger, the budgets were getting bigger, you know, and we couldn't just afford to have everybody, you know. Inside, I'm really good. I'm good, you know. I'm a good person, and I would love to have everybody's a friend, you know. And there's always this boundary between the riders being also my friends, and I know how hard they work. I know how many sacrifices they do, you know. And on one side, I would like to help everybody, you know, and I would love to have everybody in the team. But on the other side, when you look at the numbers, you know, you're not able to pay everybody the amount that the other companies were actually paying, you know. And I didn't also feel good to try to keep everybody, you know, in the team, trying to promise and trying to keep them on low budget, because it was not fair as well, you know. On the other hand, you know, it's like, how can we give all this to everybody? You know, they deserve it, but we are not able. It's just that everybody just got so much better. So in the end, you know, like, for example, you know, sometimes we're also like, oh my God, we have to take a decision between this guy or this guy, you know, but we want both. And for us, this would be the better guy, but the distributor is pushing us for having this other one, you know. So it was always very complicated to keep everybody on the team, you know. And you know, when you look at the reality, you know, I think it's hard for a brand to have such a big team. You know, we are a brand that is actually doesn't have big groups behind it. You know, it's us. It's our company. You know, it's a family-run company. We're not having big groups which are sponsoring or helping out, you know. So, you know, our budgets are they are comparable to what we do, you know. It's not that we can have extra support. So we actually did have an extra support one year. We actually found a sponsor, you know, and was supporting Lena, which was Oakley, you know, was supporting Lena, was supporting Chala, you know. So we had also a friend who said, come on, I helped you a little bit with the black team, you know, I want the black team to grow, but, you know, it's like sometimes a little bit of support, you know, then you can keep the team bigger that year, but then, you know, it's not possible. But, you know, it's nice because to see you, you know, competing now and seeing you at the top, it's, you know, I know you, I know how much work you did, you know, and when I see you winning and being the front, you know, it's really making me happy.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But yeah, you're nice, but I need to push you a little bit more.
No, you can push me. It's not a problem. There's a reason for everything, you know.
Yeah. So why do you think like the way you explain it is really straightforward? Like we don't have the money. Like you sit down with a guy and you tell him like, sorry, but this is what we can afford, or this is this amount we can give you and not more. Yeah. So why do you think a lot of people, I mean, Ricardo mentioned it on the podcast, feel like there was some, you know, negotiations that weren't necessarily.
Yeah, well, you know, with Ricardo, it was very simple. We had a meeting in Brouwersdam on Sunday, and I told him, look, Ricardo, if you sign today, because with him it was always like months and months and months of working on contracts. Yeah, because he was always asking for something and then trying to add. At one point, you know, it was like 6 months just discussing contract, and I was a bit fed up to waste my time on that. Because, you know, if you make a deal, it's a deal. So I told Ricardo, with people next to me, yes, which are working for me, we sat down with him and we said, look, Ricardo, if you sign today, this is going to be your budget, which was very high. You know, I think a lot of riders would have signed not even without thinking 1 second. If you sign tomorrow, I said, I'm sorry, but it's going to be this. And you have time till the end of October to decide on your on the offer. After the end of October, you know, I said, I'm sorry, but we need to look for someone else because we cannot wait for months again. So you have 2 offers, one today, which expires today, and one which starts from today and goes to the end of the month. 31st of October, you think I received any reply? Nothing. The only thing he told me after the meeting was, Andrea, I'm sorry, but I have much bigger offers from other brands, so I don't think I will accept. But give me time that I need to find out. And I said, yeah, but if you already have bigger offers than what I'm offering, why you're not going directly? Yeah, it's very simple. And he said, yeah, but I need time to discuss. I said, okay, I give you till the end of the month, you know. End of the month, no reply. On the 25th of November, I get an email saying, I'm really stoked to be on your team again. And I sent me the contract, and I said, Ricardo, you already have the contracts in your hands from the last meeting, so you just need to sign it. You know, so but send it again. So I sent him the contract, which was not the big one of Sunday, you know. And then he's really upset because he said that was the contract that he had wanted to sign. Yeah, but sorry, you know. He started going on that I gave him an offer which was not real and all this, but it's all documented on emails. It's all with witnesses. So, you know, what can I say? You know, I can't say much.
Yeah.
I think also when you don't get back to your sponsor on a deadline, you know, it's not that good. You know, I understand, you know, Ricardo on one side, in the sense that he became with us vice world champion waves, you know. So you're vice world champion in the waves, in a sport, you know, you expect big money, big sponsors, you know, but we are windsurfing still, you know. And I understand the frustration a lot of times of the riders, but we have to face the numbers, we have to face the reality of the sport. And you know, on the other hand, so, you know, I understand that he would love to have more and more and more, but it's not the real truth of our world.
Yeah.
So
do you think that being personal and being, you know, friendly and being actually doesn't help in business? Because I don't know, like, if we are friends and then I ask you for 10,000 euro more and you tell me no, it's kind of it gets way more personal than if I ask a person that, you know, we didn't.
Yeah, that's why there's a lot of frustration. You know, it's kind of, sometimes it's hard for the rider, you know, to know where he's standing with me, because we are friends, we're training together, we are, you know, I feel like a rider still, you know, when I'm with riders, I feel like I'm one of them, but on the other side, I'm also the owner of the brand. But at the same time, I'm not only competing with the riders, I'm also friends, like we do things together, you know. So for a rider, often it's very difficult to know where his limit is, you know, with me, because he doesn't know in which suit I'm dressing at the moment, you know. So it could get personal, you know, emotion can come out, which has nothing to do with the business, but have it's actually more with friendship or something, you know. It could be also from the other side, from my side, you know. Sometimes maybe I feel like I'm talking too friendly to my riders when I should not do it, you know. It's like, it's sometimes hard with me to set boundaries, just because we are such a big family from so many years, you know, with the same passion, same way of life, and this could become, let's say, more difficult to handle for sure from both sides.
But on the flip side of that, you kind of, you know, you go to all the events, you're there, you race, you, yeah, you know, you socialize and whatever, everybody knows you. How much do you think, especially at the beginning, did you benefit from being really connected to this world and knowing, like, you know, sometimes you talk to some industry people and they really have no clue, like, they think that a certain rider will, you know, is amazing because of some result or whatever, and you know that it's not the case, and you look at a young guy and you can tell whether it's good or not, and etc., you know. So how much do you think that helped you?
No, this helped a lot, especially in the beginning. You know, in the beginning, you know, you're starting a company. Sorry, beginning it helped a lot, you know, because you know exactly what's happening, and that gave us a head start for sure, you know. So, you know, going to the events, seeing the kids who are racing, competing, knowing who's going to be good, you know. In the end, if you look at it, you know, when we had all these young guys, you know, they all became good, you know. There's not one which actually, maybe a couple, you know, just stopped windsurfing maybe, but they are all like, most of them just became like very, very good. So, you know, it's also with the products, you know, sometimes you see products on the market which are mainly marketing products, you know, or marketing words. And, you know, when you're actually windsurfing a lot with pro guys like you guys, you know, a lot, you know, you get a lot of different feedback, which is very important, you know, that you then translate it into the product. And, you know, you do a lot of things which maybe, you know, you see things and you say, okay, this is, you know, it looks good, but you know, it's not going to bring something, you know. And sometimes you know, it's an ego thing more than a real thing, you know. And in this sport, it's easy to go after ego, you know. But when you know the truth, you know, sometimes it's also good to step back and say, okay, this we don't do, or this is important to do, and let's give priority to something else compared to the other, you know. It's like a little bit like the foiling now, you know. For the ego, you know, we should have just gone full power on the foil, but now we were like, okay, let's see where it goes, you know, because I know how things can change fast in a discipline like this, and to invest a lot of resources now from the company on something which will not sell for a couple of years, you know, it's better to focus on what we sell, because we have to, at the end of the month, you know, make sure that the bills are right. So now that we see the direction, you know, then we invest. So that's another thing, you know. When I come to the events, I talk to you, I talk to the other riders, you know, I can talk technical about stuff, you know, I get the ideas for, you know, also the sales for the products. And that's important, you know, because I can be both on the water and then in the business.
It's funny you say that though, with the innovation and stuff, and with jumping onto ideas, because you can take Starboard and Fanatic, for example.
Yeah.
And Starboard really grew and really made their name on having every new gimmick available, you know, for the public. So when there's something new, when there's a tandem, they release a tandem. When there is, maybe not anymore now, because you reach a certain level where might be nothing new, but actually with the foiling, they release all the foiling line, etc., etc. And then Fanatic are more the ones like your philosophy, you know, like
taking it more easy.
Yeah, taking it easy, seeing where the trend is going to go, and once the trend is established, you jump on that and you milk the trend, you know, and then you kind of wait. So both can be successful, right? And
absolutely, they can both be successful, you know, absolutely. But on the other hand, you know, it depends also, you know, it's like we are not producing, for example, for foiling, you know, we are not producing the foils, we're not producing boards, you know, and foiling actually is born from the foil, from the board, you know, and then what you put on top comes after at the end, you know. It's more like you have to wait a little bit with the sales to see what the foil are going to be, you know, to then know what the foils are going to need to perform better, you know. So we had to wait, for example, for us, I thought foil, we had to wait a little bit to see how the boards were going to evolve, what the boards were going to need, what the foils were going to need, you know. Then once you have the feedback, you know, on what is needed on the foil to be better, then you can start developing the sail. So in that case, for the foiling, you know, it was also kind of that we had to wait, you know. And that was it.
Speaking of boards and speaking of things that help you sell, I had Patrick on here, and he told me that he wants to make sales to have a package in the shops, and for selling, that it's really important to, you know, to be able to sell a package, and that a shop or a customer, he wants to go online or he wants to go in the shop and he wants to have everything at once. You've tried some sort of alliances, little or smaller or bigger, with Patrick, with Nove, now with AV boards, with Aurelio Verdi, whether it's being through your personal sponsorship or through distributors and through all these things. Do you think it's important, and why did you never really go into it 100%, you know?
Yeah, because, you know, sometimes you get kind of, you know, sometimes you need packages for like a windsurfing center. You know, windsurfing center is a water sports center, so they need like from the SUPs to windsurfing to kiting to wetsuits. So to have a package for sure is helping, you know. But for a private client, you know, he's more like, I like that product, I want that product, you know, and doesn't mean that he's not going to get that product because it's not matching to something else, you know. So it's, you know, we always wanted to focus on our own brand, and we want that our brand can be used on all the boards. You know, we don't want to focus to have our sail working on that board. I also don't think it's real. You know, in the end, I think more or less, you know, you can make every board work with every sail. You know, it's it's just tuning, and if it's a good sail, it will work on all the boards. If it's a good board, it will work on all the sails. That's what I feel. And you know, so in the end, to marry with a board brand, let's say, would just limit, would limit the things that you can do. And that's why, we always work together for some situations. Let's say there's a windsurfing school which needs boards. I don't have the boards, I could call up Patrick Nove and say, hey guys, do you want to we have a school who's looking for boards. Are you interested? So this is kind of working together for some projects, but we never actually like married to a board brand, because we want to focus on our rigs. We want to focus on our own style. We don't want to mix together with other brands, then it's always like this, different brands, different owners, different ideas. So we want to go our way. We want to produce our products like we want, and then of course, if there's a way to work on something together, on some projects, we are more than happy then that to support each other and to help out.
Okay.
The package, in the end, you have to think that shops exist. Yeah. So the shops are doing their job. They are buying equipment from the companies, putting it in their shops or on their online shops. So the client can always go to the shops and buy the equipment. That's their job. Our job is more like to do the equipment, to produce the equipment, to develop the equipment. And we have a lot of work already just for the rigs. If I have to think that we would have to develop special, develop proper boards, proper SCPs, proper everything, it would be a lot of work. We need a lot more people, it would be just a little bit kind of losing the energy to...
There was a project though, no? I remember something. I'm not sure what it was, but there was supposed to be 0.7 boards for a moment. I'm not sure what it...
No, we had, of course, we have factories, contacting us often, saying, why don't you make your own boards? We can do the production for you, So we always had, people pushing, and sometimes you're like, get excited about making your own boards maybe, but then you realize that, it's just better to focus on, we prefer to focus on one thing, and boards is also like, can be more complicated for some other reasons, there's less producers, there's more shipping problems, so we stick to our sales and to our rigs for the moment.
Yeah. So tomorrow, you're gonna wake up. Actually, not tomorrow. We're taping this on Saturday. So on Monday, let's say on Monday, you're gonna wake up. You're gonna sail. Then you're gonna go to the office. Then maybe you're gonna sail again and go to the office again, or stay in the office the whole afternoon. And it's kind of Groundhog Day every single day there in Garda. How does it not get boring, or how do you not, miss motivation to wake up at 6 and go to Malcesina and sail? And, how long do you think you will be able to keep going like this?
Well, let's say that when I go windsurfing in the morning, it's also for testing, so there's always something new to test. So when you have to go out and test equipment, it's always motivating because you have new stuff to try, and I get excited by this. Then there are days where I don't have to test, that I'm still excited to get up at 6 because I know that I have friends slalom sailing, and I love going slalom sailing with my friends, and just fighting and showing who's the fastest. So I enjoy that, it's part of my life going windsurfing, and when you do it here in the morning early, I know it's hard to get up early, but some people do it to go to work, and I can only feel lucky to get up early to go windsurfing, and when you have 2 hours on the water till 8 o'clock, 8:30, and then you go to work, the day is completely different, you go to work with another mentality, you go to work with another feeling, you tackle problems, you tackle things in a different way. So for me, it's very important to be able to go windsurfing every day. And if it's no wind, I still go race biking in the morning. If it's no wind and I'm tired, I'm happy to wake up at 6 anyway to do emails and work, because in the end you get into the rhythm. It's not anymore about getting up at 6. It's more like going to bed early to have an early wake up, So if you go to bed at 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night, then it's going to be impossible to be ready in the morning. But if you can change a little bit your lifestyle, then it's okay.
Yeah, and it helps that you never drink. If I'm correct, you never tasted alcohol in your life. So
never had alcohol in my life, so that helps. Now I'm also older, I'm more relaxed. I don't need to go out partying and do all that stuff. So it's an easier lifestyle. Sometimes I miss the waves when I'm here, for sure. But and then you can travel a bit and do some wave sailing, some surfing. Yeah.
There is a when you go on a spot map. I don't remember where the spot map was, but there is a spot that is a wave sailing spot in Garda, somewhere in the river mouth.
No, forget it. Forget it. You know, yeah, people here who don't go often to the seaside might think it's wavy, but there are no waves.
The amount of quad fins
Yeah.
and wave sails you see in the morning in Malcesine surprises me every single time. I've been going there for 10 years or more, and every single time I'm shocked how much wave gear there is on the beach.
It's crazy. I know. It's hard to change. It's not hard. It's impossible to change it. You know. But I think also, you know, people maybe are, you know, they're working hard during the weekend to go out slalom sailing, you know, in strong wind conditions, because in the end, in Malcesine in the morning, the wind is strong. You know. I mean, it brings you again not stress, but you need to be ready. You need to be fit. You need to be, you know, putting some power in. And if you go on wave gear, you know, it's just more relaxing and more. And people enjoy it like this, you know, and
I think
they get scared.
you know,
they get scared to go slalom.
We're selling the dream, you know. We're not selling, you know, a 10 degree morning in Malcesine. We're selling, you know, hokipa and board shorts and waves and whatever is. And I just hope that people don't forget that we're selling this, because sometimes I feel like, you know, we're a little bit stuck in this European bubble.
Yes. Know? Well, look at my image and your image. That's your image is what we have to sell.
Yeah, except for maybe like this, you know.
No, it fits. No, it's great. It's great like this. No, it's true. We are selling. You know, that's what I was saying before. You know, we're not just selling a product. We have to sell a lifestyle. We have to sell a dream. You know, that's what's important behind the product. You know, and to make the client feel part of this dream is what the goal should be, actually. You know, because not everybody has a chance to go wave sailing in Maui every day. So, you know, even if they come to Garda, they have to still feel that dream. You know, when they use your gear, you know, they have to feel that they are like, you know, in wave sailing, even if the wave is like a chop high. So,
yeah. Speaking of dreams, where do you see the sport go in the next, you know, 10 to 20 years?
Oof, that's a very complicated question, I have to say, because there are more water sports at the moment. See now also the wing surfing, you know, there's foiling, and you know, there's a lot of competition on the water, which is good on one side because it will bring just more people on the water to have fun, including SUP. So this could be good also for more people starting windsurfing in the end. Foiling has brought windsurfing to be able to go, I mean, to be on the water in much lighter winds, which is also very good. The whole competition now, it's kind of a question mark, because with IQ foil, Formula foil, you know, PWA not being able this year to have events because of the C19, you know, there are a lot of changes around, you know, and everything is like, already next year is hard to predict how everything's going to go move, you know, and I feel like competitions are also a little bit the mirror of what could happen in the normal recreational windsurfing, you know. So at the moment, I think it's there's a lot of confusion, which is nice because there's a lot of new stuff happening. But I think to have a 10-year vision is difficult. You know, it's I mean, there's an evolution at the moment, you know. So let's see where this evolution is going to bring in the next year already, in the next 2 years. And we're all working on this, and it's exciting. You know, now it's like also for a rider to make a team for next year. Who would you sponsor? Someone who's better in foiling? You for sure. You're a good rider. Yeah. You're a complete rider. You can foil. You can IQ foil. You can do everything. You know. So
I even made you proud on the waves. I think I scored the lowest heat total in history of PWA against Costa or Fernandez or somebody. So.
Yeah, but how many slalom sailors went to Jaws like you?
Well, all the old guys, you know, all the real stars did, but
all the real stars, but from the new generation,
yeah,
not many, huh?
Yeah.
From you're the only one.
I saw Jason the other day posting like And no, no impact vests, no flotation, no, jet ski assist, back when Jaws was for real men. So
Yeah, yeah.
okay, Andrea,
That's,
no more hard questions. Now we just give you
it's no hard questions.
now we just give you a standard set that we give to everyone to finish and see how you do. What are your pet peeves?
My
Pet peeves, like things that kind of really annoy you, like
things which annoy me. If they annoy me, I avoid them or fight against them.
Like the dentist. For me, it's the dentist,
The dentist for you. I don't know. I have no idea. At the moment I feel so good with myself that even things which annoy me don't annoy me. I have to say, I wouldn't know. Sometimes you hear stuff about your own company, about things, and you can get annoyed, but in the end, it's like
the fact that you don't have a sales designer.
Yeah, let people talk. We're proving it with results.
Italian. You're a master of talking.
Yes. Yes, but if you think, in the end, we proved our wave sail to be vice world champion. We proved last year to be freestyle world champions. Someone has done the sail, so that's why it doesn't annoy me. For sure you hear it, you're like, oh my God, I'm going again this story. But you need to be superior and go and do your things. So that's how it is. Yeah.
How many times a day do you pee your wetsuit?
Every time I feel like I need to pee. Come on, who doesn't pee in the wetsuit? I still don't believe that someone has never done it.
No. It's like they're just lying. If they
Sometimes I watch them and I really try not to do it for a few days, but then it just happens. And if you're racing, it's impossible not to. Okay, if you go out for 1 hour session, you can hold yourself maybe, but not if you're racing.
I know guys that need to do the number 2 before the start, and in Turkey, I tell you, on the start line there was a couple nice little bombs floating around. So with the food, different food a little bit, and whatever.
That's why it's better to wear shorts and the waist harness instead of wetsuit and the seat harness.
Yeah, it will wash out
faster. You don't have to unhook.
But you're the seat harness guy, so.
Yeah, I'm using both actually at the moment, and I see advantages in both. So sometimes it's hard to. If I need to race, I actually prefer to go on the waist harness. If I need to race, if I need to go fast, I don't mind having the seat harness.
Yeah. Speaking of shitting the wetsuit, what is your guilty pleasure? What is guilty pleasure? That's the question.
Guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Bring me to a pastry shop. Yesterday I went to a pasticceria italiana, where they make these nice Italian pastries. I had 5 of them. Couldn't hold myself. This is the guilty pleasure, unfortunately. It's more on the sweet.
I remember from Italy, you guys don't eat anything in the morning. Even these 5 pastries is like, you brought me, I bring you to the real Italian breakfast, and then you bring me to this like tiny coffee and a little pastry, and I'm like 5-6 eggs and an avocado, in the morning, and
In Italy, breakfast is an espresso, and if you're lucky, you get the croissant. If you have time to eat it. Yeah, if they give you the time to eat it.
And then you claim that the croissant is Italian as well.
Yeah, no, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not. Yeah.
Your top 5 windsurfers of all time?
Maciek at the moment, because he's complete. Yeah, for sure. I'm watching you this year. It's amazing what you're doing. So if I would have to choose now one guy to sponsor, would be you, because you're complete. And for sure, Anders Bringdahl, I will never forget.
That offer.
I will never forget for sure Alberto Menegatti, because he was a brother. We were often fighting together, even if we were friends, fighting, arguing, just because it was this kind of brother relationship. And he brought us a result which changed the company. And for him not being here with us is very, very sad. And then for sure, I will never forget Anders Brindel, because he pushed me to go to the first PW event, you know. And I mean, all the guys in the team have worked really hard. Even Ricardo, you know, Campello, I think, is the best wave sailor on the market at the moment. Very difficult guy to have on the team, but a real pro. When he's on the water, I think the cameras are only on him, you know. And so I think, you know, there are many riders, you know, I you know, which I followed as a fan, you know, and then which I actually had in the team, you know, which I like. Is, I mean, to make more names is just too many.
Who's the most underrated windsurfer of all time?
Underrated, I think, for you for a while.
By you?
Huh?
Maybe by you.
No, I'm kidding. No, I mean, you always have worked hard, you know, on your media. I mean, you know, I think nowadays with riders, you have to think that, you know, what a rider needs. He needs effort, because he needs to do everything himself, you know, so he can't be lazy. He needs results to prove himself as a talent, and he needs to do his media for let's say, for completing the package as a rider nowadays, you know. I mean, YouTubers, for example, you know. So I always think that if you have these three things, you know, and you're zeroing one of them, you know, if you multiply this, you will get a result. But if you're zeroing one of them, you will get a 0 points, you know. And I think nowadays it's important that riders realize that they need to be motivated, have results, and do the media, you know. And when you multiply these three, you will have a result. And this is the riders, you know. So sometimes, you know, you might think that a rider is a champion, you know, but then his media is 0, he's not putting effort, you know, you don't see him apart from like 3-4 events. Then I don't feel like, you know, I don't feel like that's the rider I would want in the team, you know. And as you say, I'm going on now thinking like this was the most unrated rider. I would have to think about it, you know. I wouldn't want to say a name. And but I think riders need to really focus on these three things and make sure that they're good in all of them, you know. Don't need to be at the best, but, you know, just work on all three.
Yeah. If only you were this nice to me when you were sponsoring me.
Actually, you have been always one of them which had all the three things, you know.
Well,
yeah, because you always look at yourself now, what you're doing. You were at the event last week doing great results, and now you're here doing this, so that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into that whole don't wanna embarrass you too much. Okay. Foil freestyle.
Because I didn't keep you in the team.
Exactly.
I didn't keep you in the team because it was the time we had too many, Maciek. And I was trying hard to get you sponsored. Remember, from our German distributor, from getting support from outside to try to keep you in. Yeah. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's in the past.
That's how it went.
Yeah, that's how I start growing.
Yeah.
Foil freestyle, yes or no?
Why not? Toe in or foil? That would be my question.
Foil.
It's like
foil, but you cannot. The thing is, you cannot foil in the center of Paris, and you could have put the toe in center of Paris or center of Rome or center of Amsterdam. You know, I think this is the function of towing. If I was the, you know, somebody that rules the tour, that's what I would try to do.
Yes, you're totally right. I mean, towing is really for no wind in the end, you know. And foil freestyle is ready for, let's say, could you say 8-9 knots to 15 knots? Exactly. Maybe.
Garda,
yeah.
You know, king of the lake.
King of the lake in a bad day. Yeah, that would be what I would like to see on Lake Garda. I'm actually in contact now with the Malcesine to try to bring an EFPT event, you know. And the idea is to have all three: the tow-in, the foil freestyle, and also the normal freestyle, you know, because during the day we have in the morning strong wind, in the afternoon we could get the freestyle foil in, you know, And in the evening, when the wind is completely gone, we have flat water for like water skiing almost. So that could be bringing the jet ski, you know, the towing. So, you know, that I agree with you. Freestyle foil should. I mean, I agree. If you ask me the question, yes, it should be there.
Yeah. Obstacles in slalom. Would you put a sausage on the last straight?
I am kind of thinking that slalom is cool as it is, but on the other hand, it's many years that it has been mostly 4 jives downwind. Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing. And I realize that the public want to see a bit more happening in the course. Having some obstacle for sure would bring the thing more fun to watch, yeah, more spectacular. Yeah, and also I would do also different courses maybe, you know. I'm not talking about going upwind for sure, but you know, trying to get the slalom to be a bit more free.
Yeah, beach starts.
Free. Yeah, sorry?
Beach starts.
Beach starts is one of them for sure. I mean, it was existing in the 90s, 80s. Yeah, it's a sport connected to the beach. Why not having it sometimes to start from the beach?
Yeah,
and
not in Malchesina, please. I hate those fun.
Oh no, I you know, for sure I wouldn't do it where there are rocks or stuff like this, because I understand if some people are scared to damage their expensive fins and stuff. But I mean, where it's possible and where it could be like also a nice maybe surf break, it could be very interesting to do.
Yeah.
One
spot you would have to sail every single day for the rest of your life.
Well, it's actually happening. I'm sailing my home spot every day. And I'm not getting bored of it, so maybe it's not so bad. Yeah, it's not so bad.
Worst excess baggage bill or check-in story?
Check-in story. We have, how many do we have, Maciek? We have a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And I think the worst is always when you actually have to buy a new ticket and change airline company, or actually like when you're in Australia and they tell you that you have to actually ship it by container back home, you know, and those are always the worst, you know. And yeah, so let's say that always in '97, first time I was doing the PWA, I was with Rosati, Andrea. He was my travel companion for a lot of years in PWA, and we went to the airport in Rome with 27 trolleys of equipment. 27 trolleys of equipment. We entered the airport with 27 trolleys because we had gear for Teriteo, Anders Brintel, Robbie Seeger, and many others, because they just left the gear to RD, and the RD told us to bring it for them up to Zilt. So we had to fly with 27 trolleys, which means like over 50 bags. When we entered the airport, the airport staff came to us and said, out. They didn't want even to hear our story. They didn't want to know where we wanted to go. We had to go. They just said out. Yeah. So we actually had called who brought us the van to the airport. We unpacked all the bags completely. We put all the stuff inside. We had bags on the roof of the van because the van was not, I mean, it's a huge one, but was not big enough for all the stuff we had. And we had to drive the whole night for racing the next morning. So practically we arrived and I refused to go racing because I was dead. Also because at those times the vans were not this nice, comfortable Mercedes, Volkswagen, you know, they were like going maximum 80 kilometers an hour, 70 kilometers an hour up the hill, you know, on fourth gear. It was a nightmare to get there. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the furthest you traveled specifically to see a girl?
Kilometers, my friend. Kilometers. Kilometers. Always with the excuse of windsurfing, maybe, but kilometers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is the best cook on tour?
Rosati, come on. Huh? He saved my life in Korea. He was taking a huge bag of food and he was cooking every night in his room. Perfect Italian food with nothing missing, not one ingredient missing. Yeah. And in Korea, you know how hard it was for us to eat their local food, you know.
Yeah, even for me, even for a
Yes.
guy, it was hard. And I remember the last time, I think you didn't go. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. Rosati, they X-rayed his bag and they realized there was food inside, and you're not allowed to bring fresh food internationally, you know, outside of EU. So they tagged the bag with a little.
I was there. I was there. I was there, and the tag was actually making beeping.
Yeah, it was a beeper. Yeah.
Yeah. So the closer we were getting to the customs, the harder it was actually beeping, you know. And Rosati tells me, Andrea, I put in I take the gear inside the X-rays now, and you just walk out with the bag full of food, you know. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to smuggle out the bag full of food with a thing, you know, beeping. I said, no way, you know, we're going to get trashed, you know. And it's like, okay, we need to find a way, you know. So there was a lot of confusion because everybody arrived at the same time. So there were like hundreds of board bags, you know, and everybody was putting the board bags through the X-rays to exit the airport, you know, because they wanted to X-ray all the gear, but not the normal bags. So in this confusion, in the end, Andrea managed to just run out with this bag that's beeping, you know, and throw it in the truck, which actually brought it to the beach the same day. The next morning, the truck arrives to the beach with all the gear. We go to the truck and we hear beep, beep, beep. It was still beeping.
Yeah, the food.
But that bag saved our life for that week in terms of food.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Who was your worst competitor? The guy that you saw in your heat and you were like, shit.
Oh, actually, I had a time that when every time Koers was in my heat and I was in his heat, so we were together, it brought us both bad luck. So every time I was seeing Koers in my heat, it was the worst. It was the worst because of the bad luck he was going to bring. And I think he had the same with me. Yeah, but you know,
That's why you sponsored him later.
Yeah, then that kind of stopped actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And last but not least, who would you want to hear on this podcast?
Who would I want to hear on this podcast? Matteo after his first IQ foil race.
But straight after. Straight after.
Straight after. Now you already rectified all his comments, and of course, you know, it's racing, and I think it must have been very frustrating for him. I totally understand his frustration, and you know, this is how it is sometimes, unfortunately.
I can tell you, I was there, and first of all, we wouldn't be able to put it online because YouTube would definitely block it. And second of all, I've never seen the guy so pissed in my entire life, and I know him for 15 years or whatever. So
yeah, true.
It was fun though. Now, you know, when you look back, like in the moment, you're so pissed and so emotional, and then you kind of look. I was pissed as well because I, you know, kind of stopped with no wind and whatever, but then you look back and you kind of, I don't know, somehow you laugh at these things. So
yeah, but you also, you know, in the end, when he analyzes the fact that he was top 12, you know, and it's being top 12, I think that event was already, let's say, goal, you know, because you don't know what you expect, you know, and everything is new. And of course, when you have a lot of first place,
you know? He was top 3 actually, not even.
Yeah.
12, you know,
yeah. Let's say to get in the top 12 for the rules they had, you know, that you managed to get top 12. He was actually top 3. If you count their single results, you know, he would have been top 3 easy. And actually, that was his real result would have been top 3. But of course, with the rules they were making, you know, already being part of the top 12 is a good thing. And then being new regulations, new rules, you know, everything. Even the judges, I think, have a little bit to learn or to
definitely,
yeah. So I mean, this mistakes the judges did, you know, can happen, and of course someone has in the end ends up paying, and this time was Matteo, unfortunately for him.
But you think it makes the judges and the class look bad, or it makes the rider look bad when a rider just lashes out so hard, you know? Because I was wondering about this, and I had a lot of discussions with this, because I'm also, you know, I can go quite hard as well sometimes. So,
well, you know, the thing is that we riders, if I put myself as a rider in this moment, we are there. We're living the moment. We are in the water and we are racing. We see better what's happening than maybe a judge sometimes, because we are there. We know what we train for and what it has to be. And so we are right in the end, when we are having these comments, But from the outside, spectators want to see the action and they're not really interested in all this thing, And in the end, they know that Matteo is world champion. They know that Matteo was in the first, in the top 3, And in the end, they're not so interested, I think, in knowing that the judges made a bad work. They actually they saw the show, they liked it, they found it interesting. Matteo is a champion. They know he was unlucky because everybody saw that he was not planning at the start, because there was no wind. So I think, I'm creating too much polemics. Should be more internal in the end, because I think outside people don't really care. Maybe more the people who are connected to the riders are more into it. But otherwise, we have to work more into, letting the judges be sure that next time they don't make mistakes, because for them it's one race, for us is an important result in the end.
Yeah. So nowadays it's lashing out on social media, and back in your day it was doing a number 2 in a plastic bag and throwing it in the judges' tower.
It was not me, that one. Huh? I know who did it, but it was not me.
I know who did it as well, and should probably bring him and ask him. He would have.
The fact, is that, people will say, "Come on, you did good. You're top 3. You did 8th, 7th, whatever. And then inside, you could have been top 3, and you're like, you have to kind of swallow this thing down, and you know the truth. And if you complain, you feel like you're the crying baby, but it's actually, it's hard,
Sure.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Okay, Andrea, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Maciek. It was nice to see you. What's your next event? When I'm going to see you next?
I don't know. PWA France got cancelled, so the only thing
that's
left
news.
Is the IQ Foil Worlds in Garda. So,
okay.
So you can sail. We're going to be, I think, in Limone or somewhere like on the other side there. So you can come with your slalom gear.
I can foiling now. I learned it.
Yeah.
Believe. Yeah, I can foil. I had to learn it. In the end, I'm really convinced slalom rider, but I had to learn it for work. I had to learn it. I enjoyed it actually, but let's say I get more adrenaline slalom sailing at the moment still.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. How is it? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You formula sailed, and now you formula foiled. What is the difference in tactics? Or do you feel like, formula windsurfing for me was like fun because of the tactics, right?
Yeah.
And slalom is more fun, but formula was fun for the racing part of it. Is it the same in foiling, or is it like you get more emotions from the speed?
I don't know. At some point, I grew up formula sailing, but when I was 18, 19, I couldn't look at it anymore. Because just going windsurfing on formula gear was not fun. So then, the only fun was competing. But here you have the fun competing, but you also have, it's nice to go sailing, and fly around. So, and the tactics are different because you have way more inertia. So, for example, if you don't make the mark, you can just kind of do a curve and maybe make it, or you can, I don't know, like if you feel like you have speed and you don't have the angle, you can go below someone and overtake. In the formula, you had to be Antoine Alberto to do this,
Yeah. So there are more components that more ingredients you could use on the
angles
on
are
a foil.
better. Silvaplana, you used to, what did it take you? 5 tacks to make it to the upwind mark,
Yeah.
Now it takes 2. So it is a little different, but in the end, course racing is course racing. So I think if you want to compete next year, you're welcome. Just set up your sails well. come race with
We're
us.
working on it. And if you have to choose between foil slalom or foil upwind,
Oh, for sure, you choose slalom. No, it's double the speed. You're competing head to head. It's not that we are competing, me and you, and I see you once in the race on the upwind mark or twice on the two upwind mark. I'm there with you, and if you have the balls to push on the limit, you're gonna go faster. I'm gonna go faster. We're gonna battle in the jibes, But it's just me. You talk to the SRSX fleet and whatever, and for them, they don't see the beauty in that. They see the beauty in the tactics and whatever, So, and in pumping, for some reason, I don't know how.
Yeah. But still, if you have to choose between foil slalom or normal slalom, like you would go for
it's just different conditions, Like if I have to choose between full power 5.4 and 7.8 or 8.6, I'm always going to choose 5.4, in Fuerte or in Pozo or whatever. This is the ultimate. But you get that. But I think it's the ultimate because you don't get that very often. Have it every single day, then you're probably
you have problems with your knees. I think you start having knees problem.
Yeah. So it's all good. I like it. I get bored quite quickly. Maybe that's why I do all the disciplines, because you do foiling for 2 weeks, then you do slalom for 2 weeks, and you're happy, or whatever, Today you do foiling, tomorrow you do slalom, next day you do waves. That would be the dream, Then you go winding, and then you go kiting. No, you don't go kiting.
No kiting, you don't go. Kiting, forget.
And with this beautiful message, we're gonna end our little podcast. Good to talk to you, Cucchi.
Same for me, Maciek.
Stay safe, and I see you. I see, and you and your gel around.
Yes. I will wait for you here.
Yeah. Take care,
All
man.
right. Ciao, bello. Have time. Ciao.
So thanks again for tuning in, and big thanks to Surf Magazine for their collaboration in this, and obviously Maciek Rutkowski, who's going from strength to strength. If you want to keep these podcasts coming, if you're waiting every week for the next one, you should support the channel, because it's only happening because some guys out there are supporting the channel. There are brands supporting the channel, and the more support we get, the more stuff we can bring. They're not cheap to produce these things. They're bloody long, so it takes a while. So if you want to chip in some beer money, support the channel, you can do that with a link below. Obviously, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss another episode. And if you liked it, give us a thumbs up like. It makes a big difference on the channel to whether YouTube give it to more people and show the channel around. I'll obviously stick links to other episodes up there, and stay tuned. Lots more coming.